Hey guys, welcome back to Out of Ink. I'm Olivia the Archivist, and there's lots of ways to enjoy comic books outside of their usual medium. TV shows and movies are a popular choice, but my personal choice is video games. I want to take a look at some of the comic book video games put out there, and give my opinion as a comic lover on how they do as comic media. Now, so these aren't really game reviews. If you guys want that, we have the show Nostalgia Goggles here on the channel, and Chris and I have talked about doing some proper game reviews in the future. Anyway, let's get this party started with what I've heard called the quintessential Spider-Man experience, Spider-Man PS4. Spider-Man PS4 came out in 2018, developed by Insomniac Games for Sony. I remember a little of the hype for this game. At E3 2018, there was a whole display complete with what was basically a small building. It was quite impressive. I also know this wasn't the first Spider-Man game made, but the only one I had played before this was Spider-Man for the Game Boy, so don't come at me. Anyway, Spider-Man PS4 focuses on an original take on the story of Peter. This drops us in with a young adult Peter, which is already unusual since Spider-Man is known in pop culture as a teenager, and he's been stuck as a nebulous mid-20-something, possibly early 30-something dude in the comics for decades. In the game, he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, and is currently dealing with the rise of a mysterious gang known as the Demons after the arrest of one Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. There is also the rise of a new Sinister Six, all with the purpose of holding Norman Osborn accountable for the sins of his past. This is just the main story, and that's not even all of it. This game creates an original story that both pays attention to Spider-Man lore and characters while not being afraid to venture forth into new territory. Honestly, I'm a little bitter about it, but that's only because I wish that the comics were like this. This Peter is my favorite interpretation of the character. Yeah, he's got it tough, but he doesn't wallow in it. He gets back up, and his sense of responsibility actually kind of works for him. Peter also shares a lot of great chemistry with a solid supporting cast. Aunt May, MJ, Captain Yuri Watanabe, Dr. Otto Octavius, and Miles Morales. Really though, the highlights for me were Otto and Miles. Otto and Peter's relationship is reworked into be sort of a mentor-mentee relationship, which is refreshing, and this gives into one of the most emotional scenes in the game, in my opinion. Miles was a really great addition to the cast as well. I really wasn't expecting to see him in the game when this came out. I feel like Miles and Peter's relationship in the current comics has to thank this and the Spider-Verse movies a lot, because this was such a good way to portray them. I will admit though that as cool as it was to play as Miles a bit and even get to see him get his powers, the pacing was a bit rushed in my opinion, but the payoff was definitely worth it. Although these are just a handful of characters, the whole roster for this game is a great mix. Starting off with the Kingpin is such a strong start, especially since I feel like a lot of people forget that Kingpin was a Spider-Man antagonist for a long time. And it just gets better from there, honestly. Mr. Negative was built up well, and it was so exciting to see new interpretations of Black Cat, Tombstone, Vulture, and the Scorpion. Even characters I wasn't expecting to see like Taskmaster, Silver Sable, and Screwball make an appearance. Especially Screwball. The last time I saw her... oh. Anyway, there is also an additional story in the DLC, The City That Never Sleeps. It's divided between 4 episodes centering on the mob, led by old-school Spidey villain Hammerhead in a takeover of the city after stealing weapons from Silver Sable's mercenary group. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much going on in this game even if you're not interested in the story. There's loads of side missions to do, things to find, hilarious J. Jonah Jameson podcasts to listen to, and crimes that randomly pop up so it can keep you busy in between story segments, although I know this is not an original concept for a Spider-Man game. As a comic fan, there's a lot of fun references and Easter eggs to find. Just the whole backpack finding side quest is a fun way to get acquainted with this Peter's background, but also check out a bunch of fun references. The costumes are, of course, full of references to iconic Spider-Man storylines like Big Time and the Clone Saga. There are even famous Marvel locations that you can find, like Avengers Tower, Nelson and Murdoch's law office, the bar with no name, the Sanctum Sanctorum, and other places that made me squeal with excitement. It would have been nice to get some of these characters on screen, like maybe a mission with Daredevil, or just seeing Johnny Storm flying by. Something. I know that would have been hard to do logistically, or maybe because the rights to Spider-Man are so screwy, Insomniac couldn't get permission, but it would have been so cool to kind of acknowledge that Spider-Man's not the only hero in New York, especially since it wouldn't have been the first game to do it. By far, though, the best thing this game does is perfect what it feels like to be Spider-Man. The exhilaration of web-slinging never gets old, fighting is such fun, and Peter has a distinctive set of gadgets that help him get the advantage. I love these because it reconnects the idea of Peter Parker being a scientist and inventor to his superheroics. I think that Spider-Man PS4 is the perfect balance for newcomers and hardcore webheads alike. It is the best introduction to the world of the web crawler, but also the greatest love letter to anyone who likes Spider-Man. Between the wonders of web swinging, the incredible performances, the capability of stealth, customizable gear, the way this game looks and plays, and the countless references, I think this is the ultimate comic book video game. The superior Spider-Man experience, if you will. I love this game, and I hope if you haven't played it that you will too, especially with the sequel coming out soon. What did you guys think of Spider-Man PS4? Do you want me to talk about more comic-based games? Let me know in the comments below. I'm admittedly already planning on talking about the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, so hopefully you guys like this video. On that note, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys next time, here on Out of Ink.